Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. Let's talk about the latest episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. It was called Where Pleasant Fountains Lie. And it starts with the crew helping a society end a war that had started on their planet by a super intelligent computer that they all worshipped. And this computer is voiced by the great Jeffrey Combs, which is awesome because he's a great actor with a very cool Star Trek pedigree. But they then very soon get a distress call from the chief engineer's mother, who says that she needs help with something. Boimler is excited to go on a giant centipede hunt somewhere in the Alpha Quadrant, I guess, but gets reassigned to escort the evil computer to the Daystrom Institute with Mariner. It turns out that the engineer's mother is the queen of a planet colonized, I guess, from Earth by Ren Fair enthusiasts. So the whole planet is like Ren Fair themed. It's like very strange. And she's been trying for a long time to get her son to lose his virginity, because once he does that under the law of this planet that I guess he's from, meaning that they colonized it and then he was born there, he automatically becomes king, which he'd rather avoid. So it's kind of like a Loaxana Troy situation where she always has an ulterior motive, or she's always macking on the captain and stuff like that. Anyway, Boimler and Mariner take a shuttlecraft, but they end up hitting a space anomaly and they crash land while on this escort mission. And they find other ships there, which seemingly were also crashed due to the anomaly, which apparently no one has charted. I don't know why that would be. Like, you think after a number of ships went down there, someone would figure it out that, you know, they lost their ship on this, their planet, or their organization lost their ship to this planet, and they would have, I don't know, unless there's no way, like everybody that ever tried to figure out what happened to their fellows also went down. I don't know, but it wasn't charted, and that just seemed weird to me. On the Ren Fair planet, people keep trying to bow and scrape before the engineer, but he's having none of it. They also keep throwing themselves at him, but he resists that. Back to Mariner and Boimler, the evil computer keeps trying to get one of them to connect it to, like, you know, the cloud, as it were, saying that it can help them, you know, get away from this planet that they've crashed on, but they resist, even as their food supply is attacked by a creature and their water supply is attacked as well, and they end up with no food and water. Mariner suggests burying it in the desert like Data's head, but Boimler reminds her that Data's head was actually found in a cave. That's from an episode where they find Data's head in the future while it's actually also still attached to him. It was kind of weird. Anyway, they can't leave him that way anyway, because that would be abandoning a sentient life, and they can't do that. The computer shows Boimler how Mariner made the XO think that he wasn't ready for the centipede mission and that he should go on the escort mission with her, and he confronts her about it. Back on the engineer's mother's ship, he fixes it and goes back to the Cerritos, only to see from a window that the ship has an explosion on board, and it seems to kill his mother, as well as Rutherford, who was with him on the ship because they were trying to fix it. Mariner and Boimler, who I'm now going to try to remember to call Maroimler, you know, like Bennifer, have a physical altercation because Mariner is acting bossy as usual, and Boimler snaps, and he takes the computer to one of the downed ships to try to get it running so that he can call for help. Tendi, who's upset at Rutherford seeming to have died, traces his comm signal and goes looking for him on the other ship, and finds both he and the Queen still alive, because the Queen faked her death to trick the son into losing his virginity to her agents, who are trained to skip foreplay. But Rutherford, realizing what's happening, interrupts his eruption, as it were, after bursting into the room and asking the people that were trying to seduce the engineer if his kingdom had come yet. Boimler tricks the evil computer into thinking that it was hooked up to the network or the cloud or whatever, and also into helping him without actually being connected, before dropping him at the Daystrom Institute to be held with other evil computers against his wishes and his claim that he could otherwise be the next Seven of Nine if he were left to his own and allowed to connect. This was an okay episode. You know, it had the typical plot where Boimler and Mariner, who, again, I'm going to try to remember to call Maroimler, argue about how to proceed in a given situation, and also about the fact that they're very different and, take each other to task or drive each other nuts all the time. So it was very sort of repetitive. But Jeffrey Combs being in the episode was awesome. The lines they gave him, the stuff he did was really great, or were really great. He was very good. I like him. And I very much liked the plot with the engineer and his mother. First of all, because we don't get to see the engineer, so it was a new, very much anyway. So it was a new character to sort of, see some development of. And the whole, he's trying not to have sex plot was very funny, and the stuff that they said, like, has his kingdom come and stuff, and it was very funny. They're trained to skip foreplay to get right to it. It was just, I mean, again, not very Star Trek, but at least they weren't treating the Starfleet characters as, these, I don't want to say sex crazed or characters with sort of dirty motivations. It was the other people. And in fact, the Starfleet guy was like, yeah, no, I'm not going along with that, until he felt like he had no choice. And even then he was reluctant, to the point where he couldn't get things going, if you know what I mean. And then there was only very limited sort of sex joking that went on with a Starfleet officer. So I thought it was okay. And I keep saying this lately, but I'm liking the show more and more, because they've sort of stopped doing stuff with the Starfleet officers that makes them seem very much not Starfleet officers. And if they could do that on Discovery, it would be great. But that's another story for when season 4 premieres. Anyway, that's all I have to say about this episode. I'll be back with a review of the next one when it drops. Until then, my friends, I wish you peace and long life.